Joshi, a sympathizer of the Aam Aadmi Party, he will go up against Dr. Anand Ranganathan first off. Now, Mr. Joshi, this is a serious issue, the High Court. Forget about Mr. Anand for a moment. This is a serious indictment, and the Supreme Court is also sort of not leaping to bail out, so to speak, Mr. Kejriwal. It's not besides itself with anguish to set an immediate date to hear the pleadings of Mr. Kejriwal. Now, had the High Court not said what it said, one could still have given Mr. Kejriwal benefit of doubt. But now, after what the High Court has said yesterday, should Mr. Kejriwal take onus, moral onus, and step down?
Well, Rahulji, you started by saying that it is time for the Aam Aadmi Party for the ultimate sacrifice, and the convener of the Aam Aadmi Party should sacrifice himself. I will say it is a stupid bravado, and I don't think it should happen, because Mr. Kejriwal is the face of the party. Mr. Kejriwal is the person because of whom the party has won in 2 states. And Mr. Kejriwal, for each and every person who believes in the ideology of Aam Aadmi Party, the ideology of education, the ideology of good and quality healthcare, I think Mr. Kejriwal is the face of that kind of politics. As far as these charges are concerned, charges can always be put on, aspersions can always be cast. Ultimately, it is the law of the land which will prevail at the end of the day. Justice will prevail, and the final judgments will come.
Okay.
But 2 years down the line, all we are talking about are the observations and observations and observations. Not a single judgment has been pronounced in the excise policy. So I think I'll wait for the final judgment. Meanwhile, the only problem that probably the only question that I have.
Can I ask you a small question?
Yes, please.
Mr. Joshi.
Yes, please.
Why then did Mr. Kejriwal describe himself famously as an anarchist, organize a massive sit-in, demand the resignation a few years ago? I'm actually going back now to 2014. The then Union Home Minister, Mr. Shinde, for being merely involved, allegedly, in some sort of transfer and posting racket. Now, he wanted Shinde to hold himself to a certain level of accountability. Does that not apply to Mr. Kejriwal?
It does apply to Mr. Kejriwal. It did apply to Mr. Kejriwal, and that is why he resigned after the 49 days of his chief ministership in his first term. But now, now we are seeing an unprecedented assault on the opposition parties, where when you talk of constitutional bodies, they are being blatantly misused by the government.
No, but how?
So these are extraordinary
times. Because the amendments made to the PMLA Act, Mr. Joshi, were made not by this government, were made by the Congress party. You know this.
We all know about the 2023 changes as well in the PMLA Act.
But those are not the ones that are denying liberty to Satyendra Jain or Mr. Kejriwal. You know that also.
Well, I agree with you, but to bring back to the point of morality.
No. You see, if you agree with me, then you also have to agree with another point. You see, those changes were wrought by an under pressure UPA government. Why? Who was breathing down its neck? It was Mr. Kejriwal. He said that we must make the acts more stringent. If you don't, you have no moral authority to continue in office. I will starve myself at Jantar Mantar and kill myself. That's what he said. So it was because of people like him that these acts were made more so-called draconian, unquote, quote, as you would say.
What was the biggest plank and the most important plank of the Anna Andolan? Yes. That was basically the formation of an independent Lokpal. Constitutional body should be appointed independently. Do we see that happening? Do we see that in case of CVC? Do we see that in case of...
But Mr. Kejriwal has not resigned. Anna Hazare came back and said, Kejriwal, you have not resigned, you have become part of that system. Let me open this up.
He is part of the battle. He is not part of the system. He is part of the battle against the onslaught against opposition.
Then you have to ask why the High Court said what it said. And
It is
should
an
I repeat?
observation. Come on, Rahulji, it is an
It's not
observation.
an observation. It's been written into the order, sir.
Yeah,
it's
it
not
is an
obit
observation. So observation can be mentioned into the order. It's not a
Okay,
judgment.
so
right,
the
is it?
observation says, prima facie, there is material evidence to show that Kejriwal is a key conspirator. Material evidence. An observation has not been made with...
Prima facie, at the face of it, at the face of it.
Yeah, but they have looked at it, no? There is
Yeah,
something that the
so
ED
prima
has been
facie,
able
that's
to...
why they have
Okay.
not pronounced the final judgment.
Okay, fair enough, sir. Fair enough. Okay. So, different yardstick, viewers, applies to everyone else except for Mr. Kejriwal. In fact, let me tell you, 2 of his own cabinet ministers have resigned their portfolios. Yes, that has also happened. Let me bring in...
Times call for extraordinary measures. That's it.
Okay. So, those were not extraordinary times 6 months ago. Right. Okay. Well,
They
maybe
were.
the extraordinary measure
They
that
are.
Mr. Kejriwal will take is to name Saurabh Bhardwaj and Atishi Marlena and shove them under the bus. Oh, in fact, I think he
Food
did
Dalo
that. Did he
Raj Karo is
not?
not going to be successful anymore. Food
Okay.
Dalo Raj Karo is not going to be successful
Achha.
anymore. It's a two-year-old statement. Come on.
Okay. Dr. Ranganathan wants to come in. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan. What would you say today to those who are saying that Kejriwal has lost the moral authority to govern?
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I'm sorry, but when did he have the moral authority? You know, the AAP minister has gained 4.5 kilos of weight by resigning today. This is the same 4.5 kilos that Kejriwal lost last week, that I call the weight of his conscience. And I'm glad that finally it is proven after 1,000 years of scientific investigation that conscience can leave a human being and enter another. But this had to happen. But before I, talk about facts, I must say this openly. I have great respect for Dr. Joshi because he's a COVID warrior. He saved lives and I'm eternally grateful for that. And people make mistakes. I mean, they get married, they support Aam Aadmi Party. So I'm not blaming him at all. But the fact that he talks about that this is not a judgment. I'm sorry, Dr. Joshi, in denying the bail, this is the judgment. This is not a judgment whether Kejriwal is overall guilty or not. But the court has denied him bail. The court had said the arrest is not illegal and it has based it on this. So the evidence is overwhelming and sooner or later, Rahul, it had to overwhelm even those in the Aam Aadmi Party. Other than the fact that none other than the High Court has claimed that Kejriwal court conspired to use and conceal the proceeds of crime. Here are the details from the CAG report. Let us not dismiss the CAG report because it was Kejriwal 10 years ago that on the basis of CAG reports was demanding the resignation of sitting Chief Minister Sheila Dikshit. And he called her names and Ms. Dikshit sued him for calling her a broker and dalal. Those tweets are still there. Loss due to not obtaining timely permission, 941 crores. Loss due to not retendering surrendered zones, 890 crores. Loss due to incorrect granting of favors to licensees, 144 crores. Loss due to incorrect collection of security deposits, 27 crores. And CAG comes at the back of the Supreme Court that said, and I quote, there was a conspiracy on drafting new excise policy. It was meant to help those who gave kickbacks. PMLA offense was supposed to buy material evidence. VAT was reduced to 1%. 7% excess commission was given amounting to 338 crore loss to the exchequer. AAP forced a company to give up its 20% market share in favor of another company. But then, Rahul, this is the party, as you said, that celebrates openly anarchy, that publicly implores citizens to elect goons and thugs because BJP must be defeated at all costs, that bought out much of the media with taxpayers' money. It is the same Kejriwal who spent taxpayers' money for paying exorbitant lawyers' fees in cases where he ultimately had to furnish a groveling apology. Even right now, we, the daily taxpayers, are paying for his lawyers' fees. And it is the same Kejriwal who demanded Bharat Ratna for Satinder Jain and Manish Sisodia, both in jail right now, denied bail. Rahul, AAP government ad spending has increased by 4,273% over the last 10 years. 5 CAG reports are not being tabled in the assembly and repeat requests by the LG to do so are being ignored. There is a massive Jal Board scam concerning illegal tendering in which Kejriwal also has been summoned by the ED. There is a massive Mohallas clinic scam where clinics entered either multiple nines or zeros as mobile numbers of 14,749 ghost patients so they could be outsourced thousands of tests, payments of which were made to private labs by the state. The High Court recently blasted Kejriwal for installing only 6 CT scan machines in hospitals he runs for 30 million population. This is the famous Kejriwal health model that Dr. Piyush Joshi has mentioned. But no one knows this. As AAP has spent 1,073 crores on ads in the last 3 years, from turning Delhi to London, to cleaning the Yamuna, to removing pollution by stopping farm fires in Punjab that is controlled by AAP. No one has lied as much as Kejriwal. And we haven't even come to the 50 crores Kejri spent on his grand house. Money that could have bought thousands of oxygen cylinders, opened tens of clinics.
So Anandji can speak for
I want
30
to say
minutes.
just 10 seconds. It was only a matter of time that even those in the AAP realized it. Well, at least one of them with a conscience has. And of course, his name had to be Anand.